Over the course of an NFL season, crazy things happen. One moment, a team like the Niners looks unbeatable. Then they lose to PJ Walker.
Lofting far sideline, Cooper. Oh, what a catch!
Or a team like the Broncos, who was a complete embarrassment through 6 games, goes on a 5-game win streak out of nowhere, with most of those wins coming against playoff teams.
There goes Wilson, touchdown! Sutton!
Now every year, each team finishes the regular season in one of these 3 categories. They were either disappointing, did about as expected, or they completely surprised us. In my last video, we looked at the most disappointing teams in the NFL, and today, we will find out who surprised us.
Now before we continue, today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events every single day on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. And we are entering the best time of year, the football playoffs. I'm considering going to one of these late season games because they're incredible to see live. Before you know it, football season will be over, so you should get your tickets now. They put tickets all across the web into one place to make sure you're getting a good deal. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so look for the green dots. Green means good and red means bad. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. And you know I came through for you guys. Use my code KTO for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. Make sure to click the link in the description to download the app.
Game of the weekend. It lived up to its billing and conversation pieces for sure.
To me, Baltimore came in today and shoved and threw them around. And honestly embarrassed them.
Because they were expected to be one of the best teams in football, it's hard to call them a surprise. But this team with a new offensive coordinator has been the most dominant team in the NFL. With the #1 defense and an offense that gives D coordinators nightmares, Lamar has all but ran away with his 2nd MVP of his career in a huge bounce-back season, including dismantling the 49ers on the road. This is just one of the reasons why the Ravens are the Super Bowl favorites entering the playoffs. Okay, let's move on.
I think there's going to be some struggles for the Colts.
Under.
I'm taking the under, man.
I think 6-11 is where I see it. 7-10, maybe, right?
Yeah, 7-10 seems like a optimistic.
The Colts were a complete train wreck in 2022. They fired Frank Reich mid-season and brought in the team's former center, Jeff Saturday, who had 0 coaching experience of any kind, as the head coach.
And quite honestly, it's so disrespectful to every single coach that has actually been in this league.
And it was a disaster. After a 4-12-1 finish, there were many holes on this roster, but the Colts took a big swing in the first round of the NFL draft, selecting boomer bust prospect Anthony Richardson. Now, even though Richardson showed promise early in 2023, injuries only allowed him to appear in 4 games, leaving the rebuilding franchise in the hands of head coach and play caller Shane Steichen and backup journeyman Gardner Minshew. Despite their defense finishing statistically as one of the worst in the NFL, this offense found a way to carry the team to a 9-8 record.
Leads to Minshew to the end zone. Touchdown!
This is a significant improvement from what they were expected to make, even though they missed the playoffs after that heartbreaking dropped pass in the season finale. The future looks extremely bright in Indy, as Steichen has proven to be an excellent hire.
I just think he's done a tremendous job, and he's one of the tons of coaches that you could argue should be in that Coach of the Year conversation. I don't think anybody in the NFL that's a fan, if you told them, hey, this team's 500 or over 500, be like, who? Like the Colts. They're a winning football team this year.
And they clearly miss him in Philadelphia. Even worse than the Colts, the Texans were a joke in 2022, only amounting to 3 wins with one of the worst rosters in the NFL.
A Houston Texans organization are an atrocity. They are an embarrassment.
Few had big aspirations for them in 2023. They were in the midst of a rebuild that had officially begun with the Deshaun Watson trade, but it had gotten off to a bumpy start. After hiring the defensive-minded DeMeco Ryans, the Texans possessed the 2nd and 3rd overall picks, with whom they selected quarterback CJ Stroud and linebacker Will Anderson. With a young roster, a first-year head coach, and a rookie quarterback, oddsmakers had this team around 6 wins. And early, things didn't look so great after a 0-2 start. But then, CJ Stroud took the league by storm.
Stroud goes for the end zone, caught, touchdown, CJ Stroud.
Things got so crazy that not only was Stroud running away with Rookie of the Year, but he was beginning to make a serious case for MVP after his unbelievable 470-yard, 5-touchdown performance. At one point, Stroud possessed a 14-to-1 touchdown-to-interception ratio. Nico Collins had been a solid receiver, and rookie third-rounder Tank Dell looks like a good piece as well. What's also impressive about what Stroud's done is that the team hasn't been able to run the ball well, so he's been performing at a high level in spite of a run game. Also, this defense has shown some improvements from last year. Will Anderson will most likely finish as the runner-up for Defensive Rookie of the Year, which complemented this offense, as this team surprised everybody, making the playoffs. No matter what happens in the playoffs, the future looks bright in Houston.
That last play, that's what it's about, man. And we punched our ticket.
Raheem Morris, a big hug from LaFleur as well. The Rams continue to struggle on these trips up to Lambeau Field.
You need to reset the franchise. I think that has to be on the table. They're not going anywhere.
Back in 2021, the Rams were a team that went all out for the Super Bowl, and it worked. But it seemingly cost them the future, and they were pretty woeful in 2022, only winning 5 games. Questions loomed about Stafford's career, as he looked like a shell of himself and had to end his season early due to injuries.
Talked about this a lot. He's about as beat up of a middle 30s quarterback as you're going to find.
And overall, this team appeared to be headed towards a rebuild, which became even more evident once they traded away Jalen Ramsey. Going into 2023, they were only expected to win around 6 to 7 games. And through the first 9 games, the Rams were bad, only managing to win 3 games. But they had one thing going for them early, and that was a 5th-round rookie receiver that came out of nowhere to dominate.
There he is, Nacua to the end zone. Rams win.
Puka Nacua completely shocked everybody right away. His stat lines were jaw-dropping, even for a seasoned veteran, let alone a late-round rookie. But beyond this amazing rookie story, this team looked dead in the water until they came back from their bye week. With a healthier Cooper Kupp back in the lineup, this offense really began to come to life, 1 week at a time, till all of a sudden, the Rams had won 7 of 8 and making the playoffs.
How about the Los Angeles Rams clinching a playoff spot by week 17? Unreal. How about that?
Rams should not be this good. Let's just state it right here. They should not be this good. What you're watching is one of the great coaches in American pro sports and a remarkable talented quarterback.
This team just goes to show that it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. Also, the Rams weren't the only team in the NFC to do this.
I am being told that Tom Brady has announced that he is retiring from football for good.
Losing Tom Brady felt like a death sentence for Tampa Bay. A few years back, this dude almost single-handedly changed the culture in 1 season and led them to a Super Bowl. Now, after the team had a rough 2022 season, Brady retired. And with the hype of the next quarterback class, the Bucs were a frequent name as a team that could possibly be tanking for the #1 pick. In the process, they decided to go get a free agent quarterback to most likely be a 1-year bridge starter. After many, including me, wrote off the Tampa Bay Bucs, they seemed closer to the #1 pick than the playoffs, when 6 losses in 7 weeks led them to a 4-7 record. And just when you think you could rule Baker Mayfield out,
Mayfield to the end zone. It is caught. Otten, touchdown.
it's pretty impressive what Baker has done with the same pieces as Tom. Baker has been more impressive statistically. And also, this defense has been slightly better than they were last season, and has come up big in moments during their run, including a shutout in their season finale. Now, I don't think this is the strongest playoff team in the world, but they surely exceeded any expectations people had for them.
See where it takes me, and this is the most fun I've had playing football in a long time, and I can't say enough about this organization that I'm with right now, and I'm thankful that we got another week to see what happens in the playoffs, and I'm so happy about that.
Now, to be fair, oddsmakers expected the Detroit Lions to be good, but even then, they certainly exceeded even those expectations. Goff had really been written off after the trade from LA, especially considering Stafford immediately helped the Rams win a Super Bowl. But now, after back-to-back great seasons, Goff has solidified himself as a top 10 to 12-ish quarterback in the league.
Jameson Williams looking for the ball! Got it!
The big difference between the last 2 seasons was last year, the Lions were a fun team to finally see have some success. But this year, they are for real. The combination of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield has been amazing to watch. Gibbs is clearly a star in the making, and Sam Laporta has been an awesome rookie tight end. Also, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a total beast. Now, their defense has been so-so at best, and it's really the Achilles heel of this team going into the postseason. But it is slightly improved over last season. Unfortunately, they did get screwed against Dallas with that controversial 2-point conversion. But even with that said, the Lions have won their division for the first time in 30 years. And they get to host a playoff game where their former quarterback, Matt Stafford, faces off against them for the first time in Detroit since the trade. So that'll be fun to watch.
Okay, great. I'll start at the bottom. I think the Browns. A lot of unknowns with Cleveland, but I just think when you look at this division, they're clearly fourth.
Who knew in our lifetimes we would see 2 of the biggest surprises in the NFL being the Lions and the Browns? The Cleveland Browns are a team historically that has folded, but this season has been another story. In fact, quite the opposite.
Picked off at the 30-yard line, all the way, touchdown.
They have had some major adversity, with 4 different quarterbacks starting multiple games, and over 25% of their salary cap is on IR, which leads the NFL. Yet despite this, they rested their starters for the final regular season game because they had already clinched the 5 seed. The biggest difference between last year's team and this year's team is the defense.
Tannehill crushed.
After years of building a smaller, speedier unit led by defensive coordinator Joe Woods, 2022 was the final straw. They had a pretty decent pass defense, but one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL, and overall were below average and an absolute pain to watch. This year, with the hiring of Jim Schwartz, the difference has been night and day. They lead the NFL in pass yards allowed, total yards allowed, first downs given up, third down percentage, and are also #1 in average drive time, number of plays, and yards allowed. For anyone who's seen them play, you know how fun this defense is to watch. They play insanely aggressively, which is one of the reasons why they force so many turnovers and 3 and outs. Myles Garrett is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate once again, but the difference this year is that the collective group is making plays. There's playmakers in all 3 levels. For the offense, normally, a revolving door at quarterback all season is a surefire way to derail any sort of playoff hopes. In fact, the Browns are the first team ever to reach the playoffs with 4 different quarterbacks starting multiple games. Technically, they had 5 starters this season, which is insane. And it's nuts because they have many of their wins versus impressive teams, like the Niners, and on the road versus the Ravens. In fact, 7 of their 11 wins are against teams above 500. But the craziest part is how good Joe Flacco has been. Flacco has not only exceeded expectations, but has taken center stage of the entire NFL for the month of December. Credit has to be given to the amazing roster building of Andrew Berry and the coaching job done by Kevin Stefanski. This has been a wild ride as a Browns fan, and I'm soaking in every moment.
Flacco looking downfield, open, and Cooper makes the catch and breaks free. Cooper tiptoes all the way for the touchdown.